Oh, the Jizz Bro. Can you guys believe I call myself the Jizz on the internet, eh? Anyway, what's going on, Game Leapers? This is Eeks, and in today's video, 10 most broken... Wait, hang on a second, no it's not. 10 low-key broken. Low-key broken. These are like unknown picks, kind of, that aren't going to be picked and banned as much as Darius, Fiora, and Annie, etc. So these champions, yes, you're actually going to be able to pick and champ select, and they're still very strong. And guess what? I'm going to give you the builds, the rune page, the skill a little, all of that juicy stuff to actually help you get there. So make sure you guys stick around for the whole video. And like I've been saying, guys, in our recent videos, this is really not going to help you improve at all. You're still going to be the same trash player after watching these 10 minutes. So yeah, if you do actually want to improve and get good and get that respect, sign up to the Game Leap website, watch a few of my videos, and climb a tier. And I'm serious as well. If you don't actually climb like a division or two, I'll be amazed. But it's not just me. But yeah, our kind of like collection, our team of challenger players and coaches, we're uploading daily videos for our subscribers. So all you have to do is sign up, hit those links in the description and comment section, and you're on your way to actually getting better and climbing out of Elo Hell. This video is not helping you climb out of Elo Hell. This is a video talking about low-key broken champions, underrated champions, and yeah, let's start by talking about one of them, this being Sett. But I'm not talking about Sett in the top lane, I'm talking about Sett as a support. Whether you're going Sett with Hail Blades, whether you're going Sett with Glacial Augment, I'd probably go Glacial Augment into ranged champions, Hail Blades into melee champions. And yeah, this champion, if you guys remember, his Face Breaker slow got buffed to 70% flat, which means that you're level 1, I mean, well, it doesn't even matter about your level 1, right? If you can land your E onto an enemy AD carry, they're going to have a very hard time of actually escaping, especially with Glacial Augment. Also with the bot lane meta at the moment, lots of engaged supports are becoming good again, right? So if we think about stuff like Nautilus, Leona, Rakan, these type of champions, Sett can do very well into them, especially when your mythic item is Radiant Virtue. When you pop your ultimate and you come slamming down, you will be unkillable after that point, which is really why you're playing Sett support, not only to like do well into like close range bot lanes, but yes, to actually engage and force a team fight. That's where you can really thrive, and Radiant Virtue allows you to do just that. So think about picking Sett support, guys, in 13.4. Now moving on, another support here, we have Senna. And I know what you guys are thinking, Senna is not going to be OP, even if you're playing her as an AD carry, right? Because your attack speed ratio is getting increased. If you're playing Senna as an AD carry and you're going something like, I don't know, Kraken Slayer and Infinity Edge maybe after that, oh, I'll tell you what, that sounds pretty juicy and pretty fun. Or you might just go something like Rapid Fire after that. But yeah, it really just depends, right? If you're playing Senna as a support, though, you might not be able to make use of that buff. But what is nice is that your ultimate's damage is increasing at later ranks, and also your ultimate's cooldown is decreasing as well. This means that Senna support or AD carry affects both of them, right, in a good way, and I actually think she might be able to be picked. Just be very careful about picking her into engaged supports at the moment, like Nautilus and Amumu. These matchups can be very difficult, and if you are into those matchups, please run bone plating. Otherwise, you will die 20 times before 20 minutes. But yeah, Senna, because of the attack speed ratio buff in particular, and if you're going something like Kraken Slayer as your mythic item, could be super interesting in 13.4. Now, Fiddlesticks is the other support or bot lane mentioned in this video, guys. And for Fiddlesticks support, the reason Fiddle is going to be so good is just because, well, yeah, of those engaged supports, right? That's what you love. You love hiding in fog. The Nautilus goes in on your AD carry, and you come in with a perfectly timed ultimate. Boom. You're going to get so many kills. Also, I think Fiddlesticks, can you guys remember when they buffed his base damage and his Crow Storm? That's your identity. Like, without your ultimate, you're kind of trash, so you might have to be a little bit careful of playing this champion early on before level 6 in the bot lane during the laning phase. But once you get to level 6 and level 11 and level 16, because of the actual buffs to your Crow Storm's base damage, this is huge for Fiddlesticks. Even if you're playing him as a support, like I said, you might want to take something like Aftershock into those engaged matchups. But yeah, a bit like Sett, guys, I think you should be picking Fiddlesticks as a counter pick support, not just blind picking him, but he's the last support to consider in 13.4. Now, the only pure AD carry, I guess, on this video, this is Miss Fortune. So I know most of you guys are probably picking Miss Fortune with like Kraken Slayer and Infinity Edge, right? Which is good for sure, don't get me wrong. But what you guys can do, and you can look at these stats from Master and above in career, the actual best build is, funnily enough, going Duskblade into Axiom Arc, then into Serylda's Grudge. And the reason this is so broken is because, well, with Duskblade and all this lethality, you one-shot pretty much everyone. And because engaged supports at the moment, like, yeah, Nautilus, right? You've got Amumu, you've got Blitzcrank. MF is one of the best combos with these champions because them landing their CC means you're going to land your bullet time, right? And pretty much all of it. I also think it's solo queue, you know, Miss Fortune's ultimate, because most people are just going to run in a straight line at you. It becomes even more powerful. And yeah, just because of the bot lane meta at the moment, Miss Fortune, I think she's really underrated, and you guys should definitely consider picking her and playing her with this lethality setup. So think about that in 13.4. Now, moving to the mid lane here, we've got a couple of champions who are getting buffed in 13.4. The first of these is Veigar. So pretty much the buffs, guys, allow you to get to the mid to late game more often, right? Because your Q's range is increasing and also your W's range is increasing as well. This means you can actually farm and deal damage to the enemy champion without getting too close. It also means if you land like a max range E, you don't have to run close to the enemy champion in order to W. This is actually a really nice buff for Veigar. Just be a little bit careful in the early game of going because you want to be using your spells to last hit minions, of course, so you can actually play in the mid to late game. But I also think Veigar at the moment, because again, engaged supports are going to be popular, Veigar really froths this. He loves it when champions are going to dive into his teammates because you put a cage around the enemy champions who are engaging onto your teammates. They cannot move. They are going to die. So think about picking Veigar into those compositions, but yeah, generally speaking, the champion is going to be a lot better because of these buffs. Now, another champion getting buffed in the mid lane, this is Orianna, and your base armor is increasing, which means you're not actually going to get one shot by attack damage champions. It also means you're going to cop less damage from those ranged mid laners who are auto-attacking you. So stuff like Zoe, like Syndra, these type of champions, right? You will be able to withstand their poke a lot more. Also, your W's mana cost is going down by 10, which is huge because your W is a very important ability, but use too many at the moment anyway, and you will run out of the blue stuff. This just means you can use your W a bit more liberally and you can be more assertive during the laning phase. So these are really nice buffs for Orianna, and with the Luden's Tempest Seras build, you do so much damage in the mid to late game. I actually think this champion might even be picked in pro play because of these buffs. We'll have to wait and see though, of course. But yes, Orianna and Veigar are the two mid laners to consider as low-key broken for 13.4. Now moving into the jungle, the only jungler I've got here, guys, is Viego. And what pretty much is happening to Viego, your ultimate is going to deal more damage, right? That's the first thing. But the big thing is that your Q, right? When you actually land your Q onto someone, the passive can now crit, yeah? So if you're going something like Kraken Slayer into like Infinity Edge or something really whack after this, it's probably just going to be like Kraken into Bork, right? But anyway, if you're going Kraken Slayer, if you're actually going a crit build, this is going to be huge for Viego. Your DPS is going to be enhanced to your actual passive in your Q because it can now crit. And even at the moment, the highest win rate for Viego in high reloads is by going Kraken Slayer. And because it gives you so much DPS, yes, you should be able to get your resets off and dominate team fights again. Of course, you are going to be very squishy, so do be careful about engaging in the team fights. Try to like flank the enemy team, stay in fog, wait until your teammates can try and bait for you so you can come in and clean up. But yeah, Viego, I think he might be OP in 13.4 because of these buffs. Now heading to the top lane here, if you guys want to play a champion who's almost uncontestable in terms of like winning the laning phase, then this has to be Vayne, guys. And when you play Vayne really well, she's difficult to beat, right? If not impossible. If you're running something like Flash and Ghost as well, it's very difficult to actually stick to this champion, particularly if you're a melee champion like Fiora, Darius, anyone like that, right? Also, your Condemn protects yourself better than like most top laners can, and because of the Blade of the Rune King buff, where it's actually giving you more on-hit damage if you're a ranged champion. And guess what? In the top lane, lots of tanks are becoming a bit more popular, particularly next patch. Cho'Gath is getting buffed, Malphite is getting buffed, even at the moment, right, with Jak'Sho. So Vayne in the top lane, I think, is a super underrated pick, and honestly, it's easily her best role. If you play Vayne as an AD carry, statistically at the moment, you have like a 45% chance of winning. This is a lot higher in the top lane. Now, you guys are certainly going to be interested in this next pick because this is picking Lee Sin, but not Lee in the jungle. I'm talking about Lee in the top lane. Now, the reason why Lee in the top lane works is just because Black Cleaver, right, is better for him, and you can even consider going Eclipse, by the way. So if you're going like Eclipse into Black Cleaver, this build is legit. But yes, if you're going Gorger into Black Cleaver, kind of the same thing, right? I'd probably recommend going Eclipse into ranged champions and squishies, Gorger into close range champions and like bruisers, so you can out-sustain them, right? But yeah, the Black Cleaver buff has made Lee Sin really good, and also the buffs to Lee Sin himself, in particular to your Q's AD ratio. So Lee Sin's Q dealing more damage now is huge, and his win rate, particularly in higher reloads in career, has actually gone through the roof, right? It used to be like 47, 48%. Now it's above 51.5%, and this is big news. Even if you look at this rune page for me, right, from 192 matches, over a 55% win rate, that is real. This means that Lee Sin in the top lane is kind of back. Also really good, right? Because everyone's going to think you're playing in the jungle. Next minute, you're in the top lane, 1v9ing. So Lee Sin is the next top laner, but the last one, guys, to talk about, if you want to counter pick all those tanks you see, right? I mean, I guess you could pick Vayne, but honestly, guys, a better champion, especially if your team needs some AP, is picking Kayle in the top lane. Now, Kayle in the top lane, because of the buffs recently, right, to your passive, and also to your E, well, that is Kayle's identity. So when these get buffed, yes, you actually do get buffed legit. But like I just said, right, please pick Kayle into free matchups. Don't pick it into something like a Darius. It's too scary. Even if you win like level 1, if you're running something like Lethal Tempo and Flash and Ignite, you're actually unbeatable at level 1. But what I'm saying is after that point, it can be very difficult to play the game, right? What's interesting here as well is actually a Wit End Rush on Kayle, because the movement speed you get for this, pair this with the passive buff you just got, this is really useful. You can stick to the enemy champions, you can escape the enemy champions and kite them, and then after this, obviously get a Nash's Tooth from Riftmaker. But yeah, Kayle is the last top laner to think about, guys. Just be very careful about picking her against other something like a Nasus because his wither absolutely cucks you. But apart from that, you should be pretty much chilling. So those were the 10 low-key broken champions, guys, for 13.4. Let me know in the comment section any thoughts you might have. If you think there are other low-key broken underrated champions out there, let me know. And if you did enjoy the video, leave a like down below. And until our next season 13 upload, this has been Iggs. Peace.